Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome for one final time here in the RENNSPORT Road to Launch series. Today, for the season finale at Hockenheim, it will be the final race in early access on this Twitch channel. It will be the final time we crown a champion in early access. And I'm very much looking forward to it. I think it's very interesting. And unfortunately today, I'm alone here today to bring the action to you because Tim unfortunately fell ill. But yeah, let's hope that this doesn't hinder the result in the end or the product on track, because I think it will be very interesting. Either we will have a new champion altogether, or we have the all-conquering force of Dominik Ladler going for yet another title. All about that in just a moment's time as we head into practice in just a moment. But yeah, I mean, it's been a fantastic 7 weeks going into this race, and yeah, I'm looking forward to what the future holds. Of course, there will be some stuff regarding the launch as well later on, but for now, let's concentrate on the racing action as qualifying is about to begin. Of course, again, one-shot qualifying for all of our drivers. And pole position might be not only valuable in terms of track position, but there's 8 points, if we take a look at the current standings, between championship leader Ali Zaher and Dominik Ladler. And qualifying, you have the first chance to take some of those points away. They've been equal on points earlier in the season. So let's see where they end up after qualifying. It could make the job for Dominik Ladler a bit harder. It could also make it a bit easier, and we have a lot of wild cards in this race. One of them being the man you will be just about to see on your screens. It's no, not the black screen. It's this man. In the number 4 BMW, we have the race winner of Fuji, Room CS. And yeah, I mean, for him, he's been very strong in that Fuji race he entered, and I'm pretty sure that he will be strong around here as well, coming out of the Parabolica. Some other drivers that we've seen doing very well in RCL last time around, Tony Thomas being one of them. And generally, pretty much everybody showed up. Joel Soria, who's, I think he led the RCL race in Spa earlier, so he definitely has the pace to fight for very good positions around here. And of course, people like Kimi Hapler, who are always a threat for the win. So it will be very interesting to see who of these will take the opportunity to win the race, and of course how this will affect the championship fight between Dominik Ladler and Ali Zaher. Third in points, I think that should currently be this man, Enrico Bräuninger. But yeah, let's say with slim championship hopes. Rather non-existent. 85 points, that is nearly 30 points, over 30 points behind Dominik Ladler. So he won't be able to make that up today, but that doesn't really matter. As we come across the line for the first time, let's see what this first lap does. We have Dominik Ladler in P2, Kimi Hapler on current pole position, Enrico Bräuninger in third, Ali Zaher in fourth. Boom CS in P6 alongside Joe Sorias on all Spanish row 3 for the moment. Let's see what they can do on this second lap. But that would already be 2 points chipped away from the championship lead in favor of Dominik Ladler. Further down the grid, we also see the likes of Michael G and Julian Chicot very close together. And at least half of the field within 2 seconds, which is pretty good actually, all things considered. No improvement in Sector 1 for Dominik Ladler on this lap. Purple for Ali Zaher though. The first sector very short, but very crucial. Can carry a lot of speed through turn 1. but it also carries a big risk, of course. Going into the Mercedes arena, not far away from the Sector 2 line. It's not an improvement for Alizaya, but also not for Dominik Ladler. Let's go on board with him going into the Motordrome. Also a place where you can really gain a lot of time in those final 2 turns, especially getting the car rotated. Car's of course very equal, because you can't really set much up except for the traction control. Even with the open setup, it's very limited, but going around these final 2 turns, carry as much speed onto this short front stretch, as much off or onto the curbing. Not an improvement for Dominik Ladler, but it's current pole position for Alizaya. Can anybody beat him? It doesn't look like it. And it's 2 RRT drivers on the front row. That is very good looking for Alizaya, because he has his teammate right alongside him. You will be just waiting for everybody to finish the qualifying session. 3 points, of course, go to Alizaya. 2 points to Kimi Harpala, who is making his first entry, or his second entry into this league. And Enrico Bräuninger also getting 1 for P3. Of course, for Dominik Ladler, good to have his teammate alongside him. That is, I think, very obvious. But yeah, everything can happen, especially into the hairpin. And Dominik Ladler knows what to do. Doesn't make his job any easier. But he's been in that situation before as well. Now, crucial roads for Kimi Harpala and Enrico Bräuninger. As we hear the engine come to life, we see the red lights are on. And we go racing for the season finale here in Hockenheim. And it's been a very good getaway, I think, for Enrico Bräuninger. 1 car off into the wall, trying to cover off. I'm not sure who it was. But out front, it's Alizaya in front of Enrico Bräuninger, Joel Soria. And I think the car off, that may have been Dominik Ladler. And it's Dominik Ladler hard into the wall. I thought it was Joel Soria or CS who started further down. But yeah, big blow there for him. Not even going into turn 1, but Joel Soria with a great start up into P3, threading the needle through everybody. And Enrico Bräuninger immediately putting pressure onto Alizaya. As we see, a 3 right behind Joel Soria, defending from, I think that is Kimi Harpala, who's lost out a lot of time in that opening stint, pumping as they go down into the Mercedes arena. Nearly 4 wide in the background. Emi also up into P7. As we still go side by side here for P4. Nearly losing control there. CS being able to hold off both Emi and P. Kosluk, who are very strong in this opening phase. One of the new drivers, Angelo Porto, up into P8. Really good start for the Italian driver here. 1 car very wide, exiting the Mercedes arena. A lot of damage on the cars of Tony Thomas and Millop, but both being in a pretty good position. Huge damage for, I think that should be Radoslav Piwankiewicz. And Enrico Bräuninger making a move for the lead here in this race and getting past Alizaya. And meanwhile, I'm also seeing that Alizaya has dropped out. Apparently some technical issues for him. And that is, of course, very, very unfortunate, because that means he is not able to fight for his championship. We will break it down in just a moment's time, but let's concentrate on this opening phase here, because it's still anybody's game up front. We have a pack of about 6 cars Then a bit of a gap to Angelo Porto in P7. Radoslav Pionkovic and TP Racing, the two NGS RT drivers, going at it. And Julian Chicot somehow also moved up into P2. Of course, starting in, I think it was P7. Now up into P2. And fighting for the race win. And he knows this situation. He's been in a fight with Enrico Bräuninger and the race win before. It's not a very unfamiliar position for him to be in, but of course not very fortunate for Alizar or Dominik Ladler. So completing lap 2 in just a one room, CS moved up into P4 past Joe, so yeah, these just are the 5th and 6th of course. Enrico Bräuninger is leading the race in front of Julian Chicot, then we have Kimi Hapler and Room CS. Joe Soria also still in the top 5. So of course the big dropouts from the top 7 are Alizar, who is not further taking part in this race due to technical issues. And Dominik Ladler, who's been involved in that heavy crash at the start. I'm not sure which car it was, but it seemed like either he wanted to cover off the outside line, which at Hockenheim can be very strong going into turn 1, or he wanted to, as we go very aggressive here, but very respectful between the two Spaniards, simply wasn't really seen by another driver. Whatever the case is, for him, he's still in this race. He's currently running in P10, although with heavy damage to the front left, which he has to hang on to. He needs to make up 8 points, as it seems. I'm sorry, 10 points. Which, at the moment, he should be able to do. Just trying to get some information around here. And still a lot of bumping going on between Joel Soria and Room CS. So these two clearly not in a team. But yeah, very cool to see them race like this in the final race of this season. Milop also seems to have recovered a bit from his early crash there, as well as Pionkovic with that huge damage on the front behind him. But seems to be in a good position. But Joe Soria always with the slipstream, very close to Ruben. And it wouldn't be a big surprise to see him try and move now into the hairpin. Not close enough this time around. Kimi Hapler got past Julian Chicot and is now trying to hunt down Enrico Bräuninger, but Enrico Bräuninger on very, very strong pace today. 1.5 seconds is the gap to Kimi Hapler, and that one has been growing a bit. But of course Kimi Hapler had to get past Julian Chicot before. Maybe he now just can settle into the rhythm. May not be very easy to do though. And just putting in some of the current positions so you get a picture of the championship. Because Dominik Ladler now in 10th. He needs to gain 10 points on Alizar here. So he needs to finish 8th, to my beliefs, or 11th with the fastest lap, but I will verify that in just a moment's time. And Kimi Hapler just had a big moment there going through turn 1. Not necessarily what you want to do that early into the race, because not only can it cost you some of your confidence, but also heat up the tires a bit more than you would like it to do. So we are still hanging on to the rear end of Room CS. And it is costing Room quite some lap time, because he's about 2.3 seconds back from Julian Chicot, and that he has the pace to fight for wins, that we definitely know. But right now he's always have to be a bit more on the defensive side, which is definitely costing him some pace compared to the 3 cars in front, which, while they're also involved in their own fighting, are looking very, very good to just continue racing. Continue doing their pace, I'm sorry. Trying to do too many things at once, but we will get there eventually. Picos look another of the unfortunate DNFs. Same goes for Cesco Monuera. So these 3 drivers, not sure if they are also affected by technical issues or not. Bit of a gap between Angelo Porto in P7 and Dennis Kurzer in P8. But as it seems, P8 is what Dominic Lala needs to tie Alizar on points, but tying him on points will not be enough, because Alizar wins the tiebreaker. He has 3 wins this season compared to Dominic Lala's 2. Of course, the 6th win went to Room CS. So Dennis Kurzer is basically his benchmark for finishing equal on points, at least. But if you take a look at the team tag, you may also notice that Dennis Kurzer is in the same team as Alizar, yeah? Not sure how aware he is of this, but if he is aware, he will definitely not let Dominic Lala pass easy. Fight between CS and Surya has definitely calmed down a bit. Surya either doing a mistake or not able to really go the pace with Room CS anymore. Was also able to just reel in Julian Chicot now. Can see the gap coming down a bit. Let's go on board with Enrico Bräuninger looking back at Kimi Hapler. The gap is also not really growing anymore, rather shrinking. 1.2 seconds now. And if things finish the way they currently are, then we have 2 points separating Dominic Ladler and Alizar. Alizar on 133, Dominic Ladler on 131. Seems like Angelo Porter and Emi are having a bit of a fight as well. Side by side down Parabolica. Emil having some very good races this season. Angelo Porto having his first race of the season. But very respectful between the two. Currently Emil in front of the Italian, but now on the exit. Angelo again strong, but has to sit in behind for now. Just trying to figure out the points right now. There is a bit of an issue with my timing sheet, unfortunately. And actually, I just confirm the results right now. Enrico Bronier would be right back in with the championship. And oh, Enrico Bronier is stationary in the hairpin. Doesn't seem like there was contact from what I can see on my dash, but Enrico Bronier dropping down to 4th, Kimi Hapler taking the lead, and there's damage on the rear right. It could have been the wall he hit, because he stood with the rear right end to the wall on the inside. That would be a very odd way to spin out, so maybe there was contact. Let's check on the car of Kimi Hapler if there's damage up front. And indeed there is on the front left, so maybe a bit of a punt here. I know we will find out after the race, but yeah, definitely looks like there's gonna. There's also some damage on the front right of Julian Chico, but he was way out of the picture for that. Yeah, don't think that he was involved in that. Dominik Ladler is still out there in 10th. 1 second behind Piotr Zadaibe. Would currently get 9 points, all things considered. Ali Zaher would get 3 points for his qualifying pole position, which may be his saving grace here. And he's getting closer, but of course he needs to get to Dennis Kurzer, who is 3 seconds up the road with 20 minutes left to go. So not an easy task by any means. But yeah, for Dominik Ladler, as we have one Piotr Zadaibe, of course, now behind him. 1 point, I'm sorry, 3 seconds to Dennis Kurzer in 17 minutes. If it would put him equal on points, he would lose the tiebreaker, of course, but if he may have a shot at the fastest lap, which is unlikely with the car he has now underneath him, and of course the opposition, because up front in the podium positions it's Hapler, Chico and Room CS, so all 3 very quick drivers. This could help him, and he also still has 2 teammates of his in front, that's being Emil and Enrico Breuninger. Usually not a team that does team orders, but who knows for the day. We've seen some stuff from other teams before, so it wouldn't be completely unheard of. But yeah, of course, very disappointing for Enrico Bräuninger, who's been driving such a good race up until that point. He's not far off the lead, and he just recently got his victory. But yeah, he sure would have hoped for a bit more after that fantastic start. For Julien Chicout, it might be the other way around this time. He was unlucky in the Spa RCL race. He may have a good shot here today in Hockenheim. And it is like the final race of the season, as you've seen it in the likes of DTM or any other sprint racing series. You just want to have a good finish to the season, show what you are capable of, even if you are not fighting for the championship. Of course, for Bräuninger and Chicout, they are also fighting for the final podium position. This is something I haven't mentioned yet. But yeah, these two also have their fair reasons of going fully at it. Currently they are separated by 3 points in favor of Julien Chicout, but of course Enrico Bräuninger has Ruben not even half a car length in front of him. There's still any chance for him to get past. Maybe now into the Mercedes arena. He's braking a bit later. He's sending it down the inside. There's contact. Enrico Bräuninger is around, and I think that was just a bit too motivated. He should still keep 4th place because Joe Soria has dropped down quite significantly. But yeah, I think that was just a bit too risky. Room left the door even more than he maybe had to, but it was very late. These cars do slow down not quickly, so you do need quite a lot of travel to get the car to stop for a corner like this. But he had to try it. It's not easy to get past Ruben. Oh, interestingly enough, it was quite similar to the incident between Alizai and Ruben at Fuji. Oh, I'm sorry. Dominik Lala within a second now of Dennis Kotzer, so he has the pace. He won't be able to get close to Emi, and Dennis Kotzer running very wide there, nearly losing the car. And this gives an option to Dominik Lala to sweep around the outside. Can he keep it going into the hairpin is the question. The car will be compromised on top speed. And can Dennis Kotzer come back from his mistake? The gap is closing again. Will he do a dive bomb or not? That is the big question. No, he breaks a tad earlier than Dominik Lala does. And that is Dominik Lala and Ali Zaher now tied on points. There we have the updated standings as they finish right now, 130 points each. But as described, of course, the tiebreaker going to Ali Zaher, which would be an insane way to finish out the last World Championship in Early Access. And of course, the last broadcasted race around here. But it's still 12 minutes left to go. And all Dominik Lala needs is one car in front of him to drop out of the top 7. It's 14 seconds to Emil out front. Not a gap you would usually be able to overcome. Of course, it is Dominik Lala. We know that he is capable of a lot of things, but with the pace Emil had this season, very unlikely. Having a quick look at the fastest lap time, we have a Kimi Harper with a 49.5, and also the only driver posting a lap time below 150. So that is one more point to his name. And also keeping Julian Chicot at bay quite well. 1.9 seconds, been around 1.6 seconds for a lot of times. Has been growing a tiny bit. Further down, Radoslav Piwankiewicz and Mil Op with two very damaged BMWs, but still going at it. Tony Thomas not really having a lucky race down there in P15, but still going, collecting some points. I think his first of the season as well. Michael G and TP Racing, both for GST. Also not too far away from each other, so maybe they will have a bit of a scramble later on. And he is also not far away from Angelo Porto, who is driving a fantastic race in P6. He's fought his way forward. And the sun is setting here at Hockenheim. Nothing the drivers are unfamiliar with, so it's not gonna change a whole lot in their racing. But yeah, of course, just a nice touch to close out the season here. More infos on future leaks and events, of course, after launch will follow on the Discord and on socials, so keep your head out for, well, everything regarding our official championships. There are some very new things that will come to it, but we will explain that when it's time to do so. And today is just about having a nice finish to what we did over the last 10 months in early access. There have been ups, there have been downs, but I think we have done a very good development in terms of the driving, in terms of the community behind it. We had some very, very nice races along the way. And some very great highlights like the Florida Beach 500, for instance, still one of my personal favorite events we've done on RENNSPORT. And also the races here in the RR2L have really, yeah, exceeded any expectations we've set. Still, this race is also, of course, having two splits, so there's another split you can follow on the app. And generally the racing has improved and come a long way, most notably in the RENNSPORT Community League. It started with Season 4 and Season 5. I think it was Dennis Heinz and Dominik Lala having their fights, where we, for the first time, really had some competitiveness on a broader level. And of course now the last two seasons, so many new winners, so many new challengers. Ron Den Hood getting his fair share of championships as well. Joe Soria is dropping down a bit more. Angelo Porter only 3 seconds now behind the Spaniard. So maybe these will also switch positions. Bit of a drift there for the Italian, but he has 7 minutes 30 to close in 3 seconds. Of course he has to have a slight eye on Emil behind, because he's not far away, but breaking into the top 5 in the first community race to enter, that would be a big achievement here for Angelo Porto. Joe Soria, I'm curious to see what he will do in future seasons, in future races, because he has a lot of speed. He's shown that so many times. It's just usually that his race is dropping away from him, coming closer to the end. So yeah, that will be interesting to see how he develops in that direction. We've seen that with other drivers before. Something that we said about Tim Schroeder a long time ago in RCL seasons, I think 1 and 2, where he had his fights with Remco Major. And I think it's interesting to see how most of the drivers we have here today in this grid, we've seen really come from the back of the grid to come forward. Of course, some of them started a bit quicker up. Kimi Hapler, one of them, but for most of them, they were not dominant from the get-go. They just slowly developed themselves over time. And I think Dominik Ladler and Alizai are both perfect representations of that. And as it seems, they would equal on points, because Dominik Ladler since has not made another position. And then the tiebreaker would decide in favor of Alizai here. Both long-time members of RENNSPORT as well. And I think both actually started with the Porsche GT3. Dominik Ladler, I think the first time I met him was in the DreamHack car, which he's still using to this day. Alizai in the plain black 992 GT3. Of course, since switching to Mercedes for GT3 races. But today we drive the M2 Cup. Same car for everyone. Michael G and TP Racing now very close together. 8/10 between the two. And also just 1.6 seconds between Soria and Porto. There are a lot of what ifs in this race, of course, as well. What happened if Dominik Ladler hadn't had his incident before turn 1? What if Alizai didn't encounter any technical issues? It's a lot of what could have happened. I think we would have had a lot more fireworks on the track. Just 2 races ago, they ended equal on points after round 4. Seems like Jose was able to recover a bit. The gap has stabilized at least around the 1.2 second mark, 1 second mark. Of course, still 3 more laps to go. But it's maybe giving some confidence to Joel Soria. Kimi Hapler out front, meanwhile 7 seconds to Julian Chicot. It's not leaving anything on the table. No new fastest lap so far. So still the 49.5 from Kimi Hapler. And also still the only 49 lap time. Second fastest times being a 50.1, 50.0 and 50.2 from Ruben Siers, Enrico Borninger and Julian Chicot respectively. Dominik Ladler lapping around 151, Emil 151.3, Porto as well 151.3. So these are all very close together in terms of their best lap times. With the 17 car of Michael G in the gravel into the Motodrome, so that's dropping him down quite a bit behind TP Racing. You can also see that Emil has really gotten close to Angelo Porto, half a second between the two of them. Of course, now is the question, does he try to push Porto towards Soria and try to get 2 for 1? Or does he just try to go up into P6 past the Italian? It's all a bit of strategy in these races as well, even though they are quite short. Oh, but Porto nearly losing the car there. Big save. Great viewing angle that Emil provided here for us. But yeah, of course, that brings Emil right into the picture. As they cross the line with 120 to go, but Kimi Hapler so far out on track that he should be able to make another lap after this one. And probably also Angelo Porto's chance at the top 5 finish gone for now. Dominik Lada 14 seconds behind him, so that's not anything that he should be worried about. Emil, that is. And yeah, still that heavy damage from Dominik Lada on the front left. MCS is also very close now to Julian Chicot. There we can see him just in front of the Spaniard. So these two may have a fight to the finish here as well. Kimi Hapler encountering some lap traffic. That is Michael G. He's just gotten past into the Motodrome. And we are not getting another lap. It's just about run out the time. Kimi Hapler comes across the line, finishes in first to win the first race of the season for him. And collecting one final victory here in early access. Julian Chicot just inches ahead of Room CS across the line. Enrico Breuninger finishing in fourth. He will be a bit disappointed with that. Joel Soria coming home in P5. He will be, I think, very happy about that, because it's finally a good finish to show for his pace as well. Angelo Porto in P6, what a debut. Emil in P7, and then it's Dominik Ladler. He will come across the line in 8th. He will tie Ali Zaher on points, but it won't be enough for the title by one victory. Dennis Kurzer in the end coming home in 9th, and Piotr Zadajbel finishing out the top 10. But yeah, what a race to begin with, or rather what a race start we had in this one. Not something I think anybody would have put their money on. But in the end, it couldn't have been any closer in the championship. I will just be validating the results real quick, and then we can see the final standings of the RENNSPORT Road to Launch series. In the end, 15 cars made it to the finish out of 18. And Julian Chicot was also able to just inch out Enrico Breuninger for the podium positions. I think Enrico Breuninger will be a bit miffed about that, because he has had the race lead for such a long time. But yeah, let's take a look at the final standings here. And there we have it, Ali Zaher and Dominik Ladler 130 points. Julian Chicot on 107, beating out Enrico Breuninger on 104. Then a bit of a gap to Emil. But Emil jumping, or basically solidifying his P5. And for the first championship he joined, I think that is a very good finish. In front of Piotr Zadajbel, who also had a very good running this season. We usually see him being a bit unlucky with everything in RCL and the likes of these. But yeah, P6 for him. Then it's Room CS. He didn't join a lot of races, but he made those races count. P1 in Fuji, and now of course P3 here at the Hockenheimring. Joe Soria in the end in 8th, Milop in 90th. Was one of the drivers who also came in first for the season, I think around 2 or something, and just slowly developed. He was in Split 2 a couple of times as well, so being in P9 in the end is very, very respectable. Same story for Marcel Vollbach in P11 as well. Then it's Kurzer in between them, and then it's Kimi Hafler with his victory here today. Still getting into the top 12. The next 12 drivers: P. Kosluk, Česko Monreal, Slav Piwonkiewicz, the NGSRT drivers, all very close together. Then we have Michael G and TP Racing. Close on track today, but also close in the championship. Victor Rodriguez and Angelo Porto, 2 drivers with phenomenal races. They've both just ran 1, but they had a very good performance in those. And well, then we have some drivers we've seen sometimes in the top split, sometimes in the bottom split. So yeah, very close of course behind those. In total, something that I can also give you as information of course, we have 115 drivers who attended the RENNSPORT Road to Launch series, which I think is a very good result for the championship as well. And yeah, I've been really much enjoying this. I'm a bit saddened by the fact that Tim of course wasn't here today. But yeah, thanks to everybody joining this league, and also thanks to Tim for casting that one race alone. Yeah, with all that said, I think we have a worthy champion, we have a new champion, and new info about the upcoming leagues after launch will be posted on the Discord and on our social media channels. With that said, I think we should get ready for launch in 2 weeks. It's not long until we finally see the console arrive to RENNSPORT. I'm very much looking forward to that. Enjoy your time until then. Maybe drive some races. Maybe I will be driving some races as well in the meantime. Until then, have a great time and goodbye.